Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on when this gets posted and I'm done editing it. We are doing an emergency episode of the Power Horse Podcast today. I know I said we were going to do an episode with a special guest, and I have the recordings from that special guest. I have two special guests now that I have to finish the editing process with, and I don't care so much when it's just me talking episodes. I really like to put the time in when it's other people on the show and make sure that it's edited out nice and good, because listening to some of the older episodes, I realized I kind of dropped the ball on some of the editing, especially with sound quality and stuff. So that's why it's taking time. Also, as you know, my Hunter S. Thompson-esque preparation time for every episode takes a great toll on me. In the positive, I am 3 days in without beer, and it's been great. My wife has challenged me, in fact, to go 3 days without coffee, to which I told her, "Are you fucking crazy?" Please excuse the noise outside. I have the doors to the shop open because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful morning. There's a bit of breeze out, so deal with it. The thing we're going to talk about this morning is, because it's kind of light on car news right now, although we do have some car follow-ups, it's something that we were talking about with a guest I just had on, a unreleased episode that's going to release later this weekend or on Monday. Obviously, if you're waking up this morning, or if you were around last night in Venezuela, you know we hit the presidential palace of Nicholas Maduro, and we got him. The reason that we're talking about this on the Power Horse Podcast is the show obviously was always supposed to branch out to be more than just cars and to be about powerful machines, tools, man shit. Obviously, I am still in the military, and we still have some people who come on the show who are or were in the military. But today, the reason we're doing an episode is almost immediately, scrolling through the comments section, some people are trying to give credit to people who don't deserve credit. One of the very first posts I saw was, the aircraft in this video is believed to be a United States Marine Corps AH-1 Zulu Cobra Viper. Buddy, just from listening to it, I didn't even need to see the site of the aircraft. Just from listening to it, 2 miniguns, 2 M203 autocannons, Hydra rocket pods, and then in the other subsequent videos, watching Hellfires get launched. That's not the Marine Corps. That's not a Huey. That's not a Viper. That's not a Viper or Venoms. That's the Huey and the Cobra, upgraded Huey and Cobra. No. Also, number one, the Marine Corps does not have a special operations aviation unit to conduct such operations. And number two, they don't have a special operations unit that could pull something like this off. There's only two. There's only 2 units that could pull something like this off. So stop giving credit where credit's not due. You people don't know what you're talking about. You're guessing. You played too much Battlefield. 100%. That is the distinct sound of the MH-60. I think they're on the Mike model now, but previously the Lima and Alpha models. That is the distinct sound of the direct action penetrator, or as it was called back in the day, the defensive action penetrator, because direct was too aggressive of term. So that's the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment Airborne. If you don't know, they are the world's most elite. There is there's not even a unit that comes close. No other country has invested the time, the money, the training, the equipping, the specialization, the customization. They are the top tier 1 rotor wing aviation unit on the planet And within the United States military, there is no unit that comes even fucking close to them. They have a variety of different aircraft that they use. The main three platforms that they utilize are the MH-47, the MH-60, and the, I don't want to screw this up. So there's two variants, but it's the same airframe, the AH-6 and the MH-6, I believe are the two. One is the transport variant and one is the attack variant of the Little Bird. So that's the Chinook, the Black Hawk, and the Little Bird. All three of those platforms have different configurations. Just like I mentioned, the Black Hawk has the MH-60 Mike has different configurations. They have a transport variation that has can be equipped with in-air fuel refueling. So they can refuel off of, I think at one point, Mike Durant was even talking about it. They had MH-47s outfitted to be able to refuel Blackhawks, and they may have, I know Sikorsky back in the day was experimenting with having Blackhawks refuel other Blackhawks. So having MH-60s or UH-60s refuel other MH or UH-60s. What's the difference between the MH-60 and the UH-60? As you know, if you're in the Army, you know there is the UH-60. And if you're in the Navy, you're probably scratching your head and going, MH-60, that's a Seahawk. Yes, there is the MH-60 Seahawk, and there's the MH-60 Blackhawk. The MH-60 Blackhawk is a special operations variant. The M in MH-60 for the Seahawk is Minesweeper. The M in MH-60 for the Blackhawk variant, I believe, if there's a maintainer or a pilot out there that can help me, or somebody who works for Sikorsky, because it's been a while, I believe the M is multi-purpose. So it is a generally better outfitted with some sort of countermeasures. Won't get into specifics. Armed, capable of being armed with different targeting weapon systems. Okay. Back in the day, if you've listened to the Sean Ryan podcast recently, you know that Mike Durant was on there. He is famous for, he was the sole survivor of the crash of Super 6-4. He was the pilot in command during Operation Gothic Serpent, to which both Delta Force operators, formerly from 7th Group, Randy Shugart and Gary Gordon, gave their lives to protect him and save him. He was held in captivity for like 15 days until the Somalis got scared and released him because the entire full force of the United States military was about to come down on their heads. So back to it, if you've listened to that podcast back in the day, the Little Bird pilots were literally using grease pens to mark X's on their cockpit to help direct where they should point and shoot. And according to Mike, back in the day, in the early days of the direct action penetrator on the Black Hawk, they would do the same thing with grease pens and mark about where they would shoot. Actually, even before that, if you listen, Mike does have some stories during Desert Storm where they were utilizing the tracers on the M134 miniguns in the locked forward position to fire rounds into a target, and then they would use that as the marker to fire Hydra rockets into the target. So guys literally flying by the seat of their pants. I'm sure now it is much more advanced and it's much more equipped, but those were the early days of the 160th when they were really just spreading their legs. And obviously, based on the footage, these guys are running. Have not seen this many direct action penetrators in action since probably Panama. This was popping off, and they certainly, they hit with a lot of claw, and then they went in with a lot of teeth. the surgical precision of this strike was very well done. I know people are freaking out on the media, oh, this and that. If you go back and you look at Panama, that was gunfighting in the streets. That was the two largest airborne assets deploying and invading a country. The 82nd Airborne and I shouldn't have said the 82nd before the 75th, but the 75th Ranger Regiment and the 82nd Airborne. I think that is one of 3 times maybe in history that the 75th Ranger Regiment has been deployed all at once. Again, if you go back, and the reason it's fresh in my mind is because Mike Durant was on Sean Ryan's podcast talking about it. If you go back and listen to it, I think he said something like 60. Don't scorch me on it. I think he said something like 60 C-130 aircraft were coming in to the airfield that they were staged nearby to drop and take that airfield. And that's a lot of troopers. That's a lot of paratroopers. That's a lot of airborne rangers and a lot of paratroopers. So this was not that. This was probably, and this is all hypothetical, I'm not saying this is what happened. If I had to hazard a guess, knowing the assets that were in the area at the time, in the news, open source, they probably staged off of aircraft carriers. They flew in. There was already people calling out, yeah, the big giant bumblebee floating in the sky, the MH-47 Golfs. Yeah, it's hard to fucking miss those, okay? They staged off the coastline. They flew in. Probably prior to even flying in, a lot of people in the comments were saying, like, oh, where's the air defense? Should it be easy to shoot down helicopters? Yeah, it's not going to be so easy to shoot down helicopters when 10 F-22 Raptors and like a dozen F-35s have already blown up every fucking air defense system that you have. Gone. Absolutely shattered. Like, that's what all that smoke and shit was. They weren't hitting random civilian targets. They hit the power grid, took down the power, so unless your backup systems are already up and running, you're kind of shit out of luck. By the time those F-22s and F-35s got overhead, because I assume that the Venezuelans are using old-style radar technology that's a piece of shit, by the time they got overhead and the bombs were dropping, it was already too late. There's reports of, they were shooting in the streets. There were small arms firing in the streets. Yeah, probably as they were taking him, but to my knowledge, they didn't drop thousands of paratroopers and thousands of rangers out of the sky. Delta Force or DevGru. I'm not going to sit there and do like some people are doing online and going like, oh, it was the Marine Corps. Speaking of which, I have to set the record straight because Brent Tucker had a hard time reading the other day and unintentionally gave credit to the Marine Corps where it didn't belong. So they were watching videos of them taking the oil tankers, and he accidentally said United States Coast Guard Marine Interdiction Special Tactics Team. He meant maritime. It is the United States Coast Guard Maritime Interdiction Special Tactics Team. Now, as much as we shit on the Coast Guard has some pretty elite units. And I might say, if there are helicopter pilots, not helicopter units, but helicopter pilots out there that are on par with the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or could potentially be on par with them, it'd be Coast Guard pilots, because they fly in some of the nastiest fucking weather. If there was a unit that would be close to on par aviation flight skills, it'd probably be Coast Guard Hitron units, because they fly in very rough seas, very rough weather, and they are trying to hold stable the aircraft while a sniper with a 50 caliber rifle tries to shoot out the engine block of moving fast boats and swift boats. And they're a very, very small unit. There's only like, I think 3 or 4 Hitron units in the country. And those pilots have to get very good, very specialized. That's not to shit on the other branches and their units, but the Hitron units get a lot of money and a lot of training to do a very specific job. Your pilots in the Marine Corps, your pilots in the Navy, they get money to do a job and different sets of jobs, but they will never get as specialized as something like SOAR. Nobody will, okay? Because SOAR gets an unlimited amount of money. So, anyways, going back to it, you had MH-47 Gulfs flying in, probably with DevGru, which is SEAL Team 6, which I do not espouse or claim to know fucking anything about, other than they are the Tier 1 Navy direct action unit. Flown in, or Delta Force, a Delta Force squadron. Again, don't know anything about, other than I have met a couple Delta Force operators. Don't know anything about. I never directly worked with them before. Have worked with SOAR before when I was in Iraq. Flown in on MH-47 Gulfs, supported by MH-60 Mike direct action penetrators. I can't say for certain if there were little birds in the area. Didn't hear them. They also have a very distinct sound because they have distinct weapons systems. They also have a very distinct sound of their aircraft. And it also looks like there were additional operators that were flown in on MH-60 Mike, just the standard Mike version of the MH-60 that SOAR has. So was there gunfighting in the streets? Yeah, probably, very briefly, while they were getting the security forces out of the way so they could get Maduro. It probably took all of, 45 minutes from the time they touched down to the time they went. Like, when they took out bin Laden, if you've listened to the multiple recounting of it, when they took out bin Laden, I think that mission took all of, 30 minutes. It's very, very quick. It's quick, it's violent. If you were an infantryman, if you were in any kind of special operations, if you were any kind of, if you were back in the GWAT, maybe you weren't an infantryman, maybe you were an engineer, or credit to some of the other guys who had to do room clearings. There were even times where I've heard of FA guys, field artillery, and armor guys, because there just wasn't enough bodies having to do clearings. Yeah, a big compound like that is going to take time. However, if the intelligence is there and they know where to go get these guys, it's going to be so quick. Okay, unless something goes wrong, and even like it did with the bin Laden raid, where they had an aircraft crash, it was quick. So, no, we're not at full-scale war with Venezuela. We got him. We got the guy. But just want to be clear. It's not the Marine Corps, not Marine Corps Aviation. The Marine Corps does not have. And here's how I know. Here's how I know the Marine Corps does not have any units even close to that, okay? Because SOAR is, or was back in the day, SOAR is filled with Marine aviators who came over from the Marine Corps. To my knowledge, it's kind of like Special Forces selection. If you want to go and be at the top Tier 1 aviation unit, you just have to have flight time, you have to meet certain requirements, and you can go try out from any branch, and then they just laterally transfer you. So, no, wasn't the Marine Corps. Those aren't Vipers. The Viper can't carry that suite of weapons. The Apache can't carry that suite of weapons. It can carry one auto cannon, 130 Mike cannon, but it's not carrying 2 of them. It's not carrying miniguns. It's not carrying M60s in addition to miniguns. It's not carrying Hydra rocket pods, and then on top of it, fucking Hellfires or Stingers. and then dropping troops. So just want to clarify that. Some people out there saying it. It's not true. But anyways, credit to SOAR. And the other reason I'm saying it is SOAR is heavily worked, overworked, underappreciated, underpaid. The only spotlight that SOAR has ever really gotten is probably like the worst day in the history of the regiment. And it's not something that you want to be remembered for. Absolutely. Heroes during Gothic Serpent. Everybody who played their part did a great job. And everybody pushed the absolute limits to accomplish the mission and then bring everybody home. But obviously, the bad days are not the things you want to be remembered for. So this 100% is a victory. Haven't heard that any aircraft went down, which is great for SOAR. Great victory for them. Did a great job. They should get all the praise. I'm going to say this one. The operators should get less praise than the crews from SOAR, because they had to fly into dangerous contested airspace, mountainous terrain at night, combined with multiple Air Force strikes to take out air defense, take out power grid. SOAR should get all the credit for this. All the guys on the ground did was have to go fight some mall cops with AK-47s and go get a sleeping old man and his wife in their bed. So SOAR should get all the credit for this. SOAR did a great job. And I'm calling it right now. Under 30 minutes. From the time they touched down, under 30 minutes they were in and out. I will say it's a little bit surprising. We'll hear about it 15, 20 years from now. And we may never fully hear about it because you don't hear a lot from SOAR guys. They are very quiet about what they do. They're very quiet about what they do. But you could hear a lot of Hydra fire, a lot of 30 Mike fire, a lot of shooting. Don't know what they were engaging with all those weapon systems, but I can't imagine it was a whole lot. I think we hit them so fast and so hard. They knew it was coming, but I don't think they realized how hard it was going to come. And the other thing, too, is, and a lot of people who were in Panama had spoken about this, when we went into Panama, they thought there was going to be heavy resistance. And guys in both Gulf War I and Gulf War II, Desert Storm and Operation Iraqi Freedom, a lot of guys have said, can you imagine being the Panamanian Defense Force or the Iraqi Republican Guard? I think the Iraqi Republican Guard thought they were a little more badass than they were. And then obviously when, I don't know, all three times that the Ranger Regiment has gone in to take airfields, they were for the most part uncontested because the defending force left. I can't imagine being on the ground. I can't imagine being part of any military, being on the ground, being a conscripted soldier, especially if you're part of a dictatorial regime. Even if you were on the ground, if you're a commander and you're on the ground and you're ordered, hey, sit on this airfield and take it. I don't know. The moment I see those C-130s coming overhead, and I got to imagine, best case scenario, it's the 82nd Airborne, and we're about to get fucked up by angry 18 and 19-year-olds hopped up on Zins and Rippets. Well, Monster these days. I don't know who's drinking Rippets anymore. Or, worst case scenario, it's the 75th Ranger Regiment, and we are about to get absolutely fucking rolled by the world's most elite advanced light infantry on planet Earth. Hard stop. There's no other unit on planet Earth. They fuck so hard. They're the absolute best. Okay, hard stop. That one I 100% will say, as a former infantryman, having known some Rangers, actual Rangers, not tabbed and scrolled, Rangers from the regiment. They fuck harder than anyone on planet Earth. I wouldn't want to face them. I would get the fuck off the airfield and I'd be like, have it. We're not winning this fight. Let's go. Let's get the fuck out of Dodge. So, I can't imagine the Venezuelan, military or their mall cop security guards putting up that much of a fight, because you hear those planes, you hear those choppers, like, especially SOAR. Those guys are on top of you before you even know what the fuck is happening. It's just like I said with them probably hitting their air defense systems and hitting the power grid. Those F-22s, those F-35s, they were overhead. They hit them, and it was over. So, no, we're not going to full war. Why? I will let another episode air so we can talk more about it with a guest, because he had some insight about it. And I've ruminated. We're going to keep using that word. I've ruminated a little bit more on the situation, and obviously it's not about drugs. Otherwise, we would have invaded Mexico. But a guest we had on over the break had some really good insight, and we'll pick it up from there on the following episode after that, because it's not overly car related, but oil does make car go. So it is slightly important to Power Horse Podcast. And then also I wanted to talk about the helicopters and set the record straight. I can't say this clear enough. Wasn't Navy aviation. Wasn't Marine Corps aviation. The only other aviation to potentially pull off something like this, the Air Force does have some helicopter units, but they're not pulling this off. They have search and rescue for like their STTs and their pararescuemen, and they fly in very harsh situations, and they have to drop troops in and retrieve troops. But no one on planet Earth, not in the United States military, not in any NATO military, not in any PAC military, so like the former Soviet Union, not in any Chinese military unit, not in any former CETO nation, so that's like our Southeast Asia Pacific allies. There's no helicopter unit on planet fucking Earth that could have pulled this off other than SOAR. Do not give credit because you played Call of Duty and you played Battlefield and the Marine Corps always gets showcased. Do not give credit to someone where credit's not due. And stop being so gullible on social media. Some of you guys are the easiest target audience on planet Earth, and you make the PSYOP so easy. It's 160th. Those guys are badass. Men and women are badass. I have worked with them. They're super awesome. Very cool people. The absolute fucking best of the best. There's no one that comes close to them. Now, because this is the Power Horse Podcast, we are going to talk a little bit about cars today. It's been a slow holiday season. There hasn't been a whole lot of car news or auto news or racing news. Or perhaps I just haven't been on my phone as much because I've been spending time with family. Although, admittedly, from the wife, I've still, even then, been spending too much time on my phone. And admittedly, from myself, I've been spending too much time on my phone. Anyways, let's look about this little bit of news. This guy actually, he gives me a lot of my stories. Is Real Brian Milo. This guy, anyways.
Built on December 17th. Just killed off one of of its most popular SUVs, and dealers are getting nervous. After a 25-year run, the company has officially ended production of the Ford Escape here in the United States, with the final one built on December 17th at the Louisville assembly plant. According to reports, Ford is now preparing the factory for a new mid-size all-electric pickup built on its upcoming universal EV platform, expected to launch around 2027. And while Ford says that...
So I don't know how viable that part is as a pickup. Initially, when I heard that, I thought it was for a new all-electric SUV. They've killed the Lightning. So I don't, I do know that they said that they were going to make it do a... You remember back to like episode 9 or 8, they said Ford was going to have, Jim Farley, our favorite, said Ford was going to have its Model T era moment. And they announced that they were doing basically like competition for Slate truck, that this was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they were going to do modular EVs. Whatever. I think that the K truck thing is going to be a big game changer, because if Toyota is able to flood the market, if Toyota and Honda are able to flood the market, and Nissan with inexpensive modular trucks, I think that's going to change a lot of stuff. I think the especially Ford. Ford is the undisputed king of the pickup truck. With all due respect to the Chevy guys, the GMC guys, the Dodge guys, you guys weren't winning truck of the year for like the past decade. Like the most popular car, like multiple years running, was a Ford pickup truck. The most popular truck was the Ford Ranger, and the most popular car was the Ford Ranger. So
this decision is about focusing on future products, many dealers are openly frustrated. The Escape has long been one of Ford's most affordable and consistently strong-selling vehicles, often serving as the entry point for first-time buyers, young families, and budget-focused shoppers. Dealers argue that killing the Escape removes a critical gateway vehicle at a time when new car prices are already extremely high.
Yep, you're not wrong. You are very, very right. It's kind of like we've seen... Oh! I've seen this episode before. They did the same thing with the Focus and the Fiesta and the Taurus. They got rid of all their cars here in the United States. And what do you know? Now they're finding out that there's a gap in the market that people like Toyota, people like Honda, people like, Nissan as well. They fill that gap. I think the Escape is a terrible car. I don't like Escapes. I don't know who's out there buying SUVs. I think the Escape's a terrible car. The engines and the transmissions are usually shit. They're kind of like the Explorer. I think they're terrible. They're affordable for a reason, and it's not because they pour the time, effort, and energy into making efficient cars that utilize the best materials at a decent price. It's because they cut corners and they make shit fucking cars that are dead with, or, not dead, but having issues within 5 years. And as somebody who was an Explorer owner for a while, we had an Explorer in our family. My mom's Mercury Villager lasted longer than her Explorer. So they call them Exploders for a reason.
Making it harder to bring customers into Ford showrooms and keep them in the brand long term. Ford believes that buyers will support vehicles like Bronco Sport and Maverick, and says that it plans to introduce several more affordable models by 2030. Dealers, however, remain skeptical, saying neither fully replaces what the Escape represented. In the short term, many believe Ford has created a gap in its lineup that competitors will be quick to take advantage of. But what do you guys think? Ford just killed up.
All right, so we've already kind of done that. Thank you, Brian. I think that the Bronco name alone shies people away from it. My wife tried a Bronco, and she said she tried a Bronco Sport. Well, you think she tried a Bronco Sport. I think she tried the baby Bronco, the larger version, two-door version. But she immediately The one she tried, she drove it and she said, "This is too big." I choose to believe it was the Sport. Either way, she said it was too big. The Sport is about the same size as her Mazda CX-30. If you're a first-time driver, like my wife was, you're looking at that and going, I have a hard time parallel parking as it is. How the fuck am I going to park that in a regular parking spot just to, go get groceries? So, like that's one of the biggest things that comes down to is for the average person. Like you and I, we sit there and we go, hell yeah, I'm going to take the fucking race car to go get groceries. I don't care. People sit there and go, oh, well, it's hard to open like butterfly doors, or it's hard to open in your 80s shit box, or like that episode of Top Gear where they've got a Ford GT, like the 2005, 2006 Ford GT. And they're like, oh, well, the door has a roof. How can you get out of the car? The door has a roof. Or maybe that was the GT40. The GT40 has the same issue. The door has a roof, so you can't get out. If you're at, and specifically said, if you're at the grocery store, you can't get out. Well, to you and me, the answer is park the GT40 all the way in the back of the parking lot next to nobody. It's not a problem for us because we don't care. But if you're a brand new, you're not into cars, it's just transportation for you. If you're like, as they said on the show, if you're like that, if you're, like Jeremy Clarkson said, if you're, just the average person, this is just a ton of bolts and metal and steel with 4 rubber tires. You want something like the Escape. It's unintimidating. That's why my wife loves her Mazda. It's not intimidating. It looks like a mom car. She wanted a mom car. I want the race car. Somebody working on their house. Anyways, I want the race car. I want the fun car. She wants the safe car. The Bronco Sport doesn't look like a safe car. If you're a wife in suburbia, you're not looking at, the other option was the Ford Maverick. You're not looking at the Ford Maverick and saying, you know what I really need? A bed. I need a truck. My wife strayed away from trucks. She did bring up the Maverick, but from the opposite perspective, if you're a man who likes trucks or a woman who likes trucks, you're looking at the Maverick and going, that's on a unibody. That can't haul or tow anything. It's got a tiny engine in it. It's not worth a damn. And for that price, you might as well just go buy a Ranger, which isn't what you want. You want an SUV to haul around kids. So your now options for Ford are the Maverick, which I wouldn't even say is really started out. It's pretty cheap for the bottom line trim, or the Bronco Sport. Or you have to go up a level and you go to the Explorer, which that ain't no under $20,000 SUV. But let us know in the comments what you think. And for my last trick of the night, it's not nighttime, it's morning. I left a comment on a certain someone's page, and they responded and asked me to explain what I meant.
And car is your most expensive outfit.
Let's play that back again.
Car is your most expensive outfit. And it blows my mind bone to hear some well-dressed dude in a fire-ass fit who takes care of his bod and reads hard books in public say, I'm not into cars and stuff.
I hate cars. Well, I don't like sports cars.
So that's the opposite of the culture right now. The culture is actually a bunch of people who are making expensive cars that they don't own, that they finance or they rent. They're making it their whole image. Your car is not an outfit. And if you don't know who that is, that's James Pumphfrey, formerly from Donut Media, before Donut Media sold out to a corporation and got bought. My car is not an outfit. My car is my favorite mode of transportation. My car is enjoying the journey rather than the destination. But my car is not, you change clothes every day. I don't change cars every day. I think he's in, and so I commented on there and I said, yo, you changed, bro. You changed. And he responded, he said, yes, but how so? Well, you shouldn't need me to tell you. You should go in the mirror and see that it used to all be about purely car guy stuff. Like, I see so many people, it's the bandwagon. It's what we call in the business the bandwagon. And there's so many people jumping on it. Oh, I got to go get 1,000 horsepower. Or not cool. You know, I got to show off that wealth. This is like, do you think 50 Cent give a fuck about the Bentley and Rolls Royce he has? I bet you he doesn't even know how to change the fucking oil in his fucking car. He probably didn't even know it take fucking oil. This guy couldn't check the tire pressure. We were talking about 50 Cent on the last pod, the one that I haven't released yet, with a special guest. That is an outfit to him. For people who are into cars, it's not an outfit. It's our DNA. It's in our skin. And you can't take that off. I've never, well, I guess sneakerheads, which honestly, that's a revelation right here, happened right here on the show. Remember the sneakerheads back in the day? Like skaterheads and like those type of people? Performative. My wife knew some, I guess they're very popular in the Philippines and like in Asia. Dudes obsessed with sneakers. I had a roommate in college obsessed with sneakers. He comes home one day, Rich, if you're out there, I'm sorry, man, but I got to dime you right now. Comes home one day to our dorm, and he's like, yo, these out. Waffle and chicken, maple syrup sneakers. And I'm like, what? They were these weird yellow and tan with brown. I don't know why. And he was like, he was taking pictures of them, and he didn't even put them on if they were comfy or anything. He just put them in the closet and like put them on display. Like, that's the type of people we're dealing with. I think all the sneakerheads got me, and instead of spending money on $1,000 shoes, now they're spending money on $100,000 cars. I've never gotten upset about losing a sweatshirt. I've never gotten upset about losing, like, oh, a pair of shoes that I have. You know, like, it's time to retire these shoes because, you know, they've walked 1,000,000 miles. I've never dropped thousands of dollars to try and repair a piece of clothing, James. It's not jewelry. It's not a shirt. It's not shoes. It's not a fucking outfit. Okay? It is not the same. And you used to get that. I'm not going to play the rest of the clip because he just goes on and on and on about how that's a problem. He doesn't understand how these dudes cannot care about cars. Because they don't care about cars. Because you've got it all wrong. You don't want those people to care about cars. You want the people who care about cars to care about cars. It's not an outfit. It's not. I've dropped thousands of dollars to try and save an outfit that got ruined in an accident. I've never seen somebody drop thousands of dollars to repair repair a burned out outfit that got lit on fire in an accident. And that's the problem. Car guys will literally fucking piss and bleed. Will go working a job to make money to then go blow thousands of dollars to keep their fucking car from high school that was their fucking baby on the road. Whether they're having somebody work or they're in there busting fucking knuckles themselves to keep that baby running. I have never seen dudes buy an entire fucking, like, if you're a man and you're spending that kind of money on a closet to house all your clothes, your outfit, I don't know what to tell you. But dudes will go and spend thousands of dollars to get a nice garage. I know this because I did it. To put their baby, their car, under a roof. It was a promise. I've never made a promise to a set of clothes. I made a promise to my car. It's an inanimate object to everyone else. That thing has soul. Thing and I have a connection. And the connection is all the memories, all the time, all the history. I don't feel that way about clothes. I don't feel that way about shoes. It's not an outfit, James. And you used to get that. So there's my response. How did you change? You jumped on bandwagons and you're doing stuff for clicks. And the James Pumphfrey used to know, used to get fucking psyched and pumped up about telling us about the most obscure Ford cars from the fucking 90s that, in your own words, Ford nerds were making for Ford nerds. Where's that James Pumphfrey? I'm glad you're doing the fitness stuff and everything, man, but like, people didn't like you because you were a social media influencer. Because you were a car guy. You were one of us. And right now, you kind of sound like one of them. As always, watch your mouth and watch what you say. Be careful, because if you're not, you might wind up in my podcast.